They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and the popularity of imitation crab is a testament to our insatiable desire for the real deal. But what is imitation crab anyway, and how does it get made? Although it's only been consumed in the US for a few decades, imitation crab meat has a long history in Japanese cuisine, where it's commonly referred to as surimi. According to the Seafood Nutrition Partnership, Japanese chefs used to grind and salt fresh fish to preserve it. Hundreds of years later, a Japanese chemist realized he could stabilize and freeze surimi by adding sugar to the mix, thereby extending its shelf life. This in turn launched a massive global industry for the preserved fish product that is worth $1 billion today. Food scientist Thierry Lanier was instrumental in establishing surimi in the United States, where it's often called hot dog of the sea. In the 1980s, Lanier told Alaska Public Media that America became more receptive to it because of its ability to stand in for king crab, which was hard to come by at that time due to the hardships of the king crab fishery in Kodiak, Alaska. Unlike most imitation or fake meats, which are made of plant-based ingredients, imitation crab meat is still made from animal ingredients, and it is not suitable for vegetarians and vegans. Usually, surimi is made with a flaky white fish called Alaskan pollock. From there, ingredients vary widely from product to product. High-quality surimi products will typically contain Alaskan pollock with natural flavor from crab, lobster, scallops, or shrimp. However, other products aren't as pure and may contain ingredients like starch, sugar, sodium, and natural and artificial flavors. This mix creates a paste that is then molded into various shapes, the most common being the crab stick, which is coated with food dye to recreate the crab's natural coloring. Sometimes it may be difficult to distinguish real crab meat from imitation crab if it's not clearly marked on the package. The price will usually give it away though, as the fake stuff is considerably cheaper. Why not just eat real crab, you ask? You absolutely can. However, crab meat, fresh and processed, can be very expensive. A pound of fresh crab meat can cost as much as $90. That's the premium stuff, jumbo lump. But even fresh backfin runs around $60 per pound.
You were right, it is so expensive!
Compare that to a popular brand of imitation crab meat that costs less than $5 per pound. Now, we're only comparing price, not flavor. Obviously, imitation crab is far inferior when it comes to fresh crab flavor. If you're inviting your partner's parents over for their first meal at your home and promising them fresh crab cakes, by all means, splurge on the real stuff.
Look at her. Beautiful.
But if you're making a crab salad for a weeknight meal that you plan to eat in front of the TV, you could save yourself a lot of cash by using imitation crab meat. Imitation crab is commonly found in California rolls, an American sushi restaurant staple also containing cucumber and avocado wrapped in vinegared rice and seaweed. Crab rangoon is a Chinese restaurant favorite consisting of imitation crab and cream cheese wrapped in wonton papers and deep fried. Fake crab meat may also be used in crab cakes on its own or in combination with real crab meat, as well as in a variety of seafood salads from fresh and crisp to cream-based. Other ways to use imitation crab meat in your dishes include adding it to a linguine or macaroni and cheese recipe, mixing it with cheese for a melty fondue, and combining it with peppers, onions, and cheese, and making crab quesadillas. Imitation crab is a processed food, and like many processed foods, it's not as healthy as real fresh crab meat.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Processed foods have been altered during manufacturing to be made more convenient, extend their shelf life, or improve their flavor. They often have high levels of relatively unhealthy ingredients added to them, such as sodium, sugar, fat, artificial flavors, and preservatives. They may also be higher in calories and lower in nutrients than unprocessed foods. Processed foods run the gamut from minimally processed to heavily processed. Even a particular food, such as imitation crab, may vary in its level of processing and nutritional value from product to product and brand to brand. However, the vast majority of imitation crab products contain added sodium and sugar. Ounce for ounce, real crab meat contains higher amounts of healthy stuff like protein and iron, and less of other additives like sodium that can be bad for you in excess. For example, a 3-ounce serving of fresh lump crab meat provides 17 grams of protein compared to only 6.5 grams that's found in imitation crab meat. Lump crab meat also contains more iron per serving with 1 milligram compared to 0.3 milligrams in imitation crab. Fresh crab meat is also a richer source of the mineral calcium, which you need for strong bones. 3 ounces of fresh lump crab provides 61 milligrams of calcium compared to only 11 milligrams in 3 ounces of imitation crab meat. The only exception is if you are watching your cholesterol. In that case, you should be aware that fresh crab meat has 62 milligrams compared to only 17 milligrams in imitation crab. However, if you don't have a problem with high cholesterol, eating crab or other shellfish once or twice a week likely won't cause a problem. The top 8 most common foods to which people are allergic in the United States are eggs, wheat, soy, milk, tree nuts, peanuts, fish, and shellfish, according to allergy research group FAIR. That means that both crab and imitation crab are going to be off limits for a lot of people. If you have a fish allergy, then imitation crab is a hard no for you. If you have a shellfish allergy and are only allergic to crab and not fish, then imitation crab might be a good substitute when you want the texture and flavor of crab meat, but not the allergic side effects.
Your body is a temple. You've got to respect it.
However, you still need to scan the ingredients label on the product you choose carefully, as imitation crab can contain a variety of other ingredients that could cause an allergic reaction, including wheat starches, preservatives, and coloring. Typically, imitation crab on its own doesn't contain any of the other top 8 allergens, but if it is included as part of a recipe in a prepared food, then there could be an issue. Notably, imitation crab meat is commonly included in prepared Asian foods that may also contain soy, nuts, eggs, wheat, and other common allergens. If you keep kosher, you cannot eat shellfish. You can, however, eat fish with fins and scales. Alaskan pollock, which is used to make imitation crab meat, does have fins and scales and therefore is considered kosher. However, real crab meat is not kosher, and some imitation crab meat may contain real crab meat flavoring. Imitation crab meat is only kosher if it is marked kosher. You can find certified kosher imitation crab meat at some major retailers in the United States when you need it to get your California roll fix. Likewise, imitation crab is not considered halal unless it is marked as such. Alaskan pollock is considered halal, but as a processed seafood product, it's possible that it contains ingredients considered haram, including food coloring. Certified halal imitation crab products do exist, but they may be a little harder to come by than certified kosher versions. Is there an imitation for imitation crab? Maybe. Nothing is going to be quite like the real thing, but you have a few options that can get close. And if they're not that close, at least they can still stand in place of imitation crab in your California roll, so you're not just eating an avocado cucumber roll. First of all, you can find some plant-based versions of crab substitutes in crab cakes. The popular national brand Gardein makes fishless mini crab cakes. They're not quite like imitation crab because they're breaded and fried, but they can still offer the imitation crab-like flavor you crave. Another possible sub is jackfruit. A tropical fruit, jackfruit flesh has a meaty texture that makes it a popular substitute. When combined with the right flavors, it can mimic crab meat as well as pulled pork. Lastly, you can use tofu, which is particularly suitable for making vegan California rolls. Extra firm tofu has a meaty texture that can easily be adapted to all your vegan imitation crabless recipes. Imitation crab is already cooked and ready to eat straight from the package. If you're adding it to sushi rolls, just slice it and roll it. If you're adding it to cooked dishes, you simply need to heat it through. There is no need to heat it to a high temperature, as there is with seafood cooked from raw. Cooking it in the microwave is not recommended because it may change the texture. If you bought too much imitation crab, gobble it up while it's fresh in your favorite dishes, because freezing it isn't recommended. When it's fresh, you should store imitation crab meat in your refrigerator at between 32 and 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Imitation crab products that have been pasteurized and vacuum sealed can stay in the refrigerator for up to 2 months. Once opened, you should consume the product within 3 days. Imitation crab that is packed loose in trays from your grocery store's fish case may last up to 5 days. Like other seafood products, imitation crab has an expiration date, and you should open and consume it before the use-by date on the package. If it smells fishy, don't eat it. It's probably spoiled. Other signs of spoilage include a slimy surface and a sour flavor. If you're adding imitation crab meat to cold or room temperature dishes such as sushi rolls or cold seafood salads, then no prep work is necessary in terms of cooking. However, for some recipes, you might still feel like you want to cook the crab, and that's perfectly fine. If you want a healthy and easy preparation method, try steaming it. As a moist heat cooking method, it will also help retain moisture and maintain a juicy texture better than dry heat cooking methods like baking. Sautéing is also a good method for cooking imitation crab because you can dial up the flavor. If you love fresh crab or lobster dipped in butter, you can get pretty close to that with the fake stuff by sautéing it with a pat of butter. Serve some drawn butter on the side, and you may be able to trick yourself into thinking the crab is the real deal.
The Krabby Patty secret formula!
Like most foods, imitation crab meat is a personal preference. The flavor and texture that one person loves isn't necessarily what you're going to love. If you've been using imitation crab for a long time, you probably already have a brand you crave. If you're a newbie, here are some tried and true brands to get you started. While Osaki brand labels its product as a fish cake, it is in fact imitation crab meat. The sticks look just like the crab you might pluck out of a crab leg, and the texture is delicate and perfectly suited to a California roll. One thing to note, this brand does contain MSG, which gives it a nice savory flavor that perfectly balances the sweetness. The FDA says MSG is generally safe, but if you're sensitive to it, you should steer clear of this brand. Another brand that gets top marks is Transocean, which offers Crab Classic and Simply Surimi. What's the difference? The Crab Classic actually does contain some king crab meat. So if you have a shellfish allergy or you eat kosher, you'll want to pick the Simply Surimi product that is free of shellfish. Simply Surimi comes in both crab leg style and flakes.